These are the Paget messages channeled 100 years ago by Jesus and his disciples. This message is from Samuel from the Bible. This is part 3 of Life After Death. Previous message continued on the continuity of life. I am here, Samuel. I desire to continue my message on the subject of the continuous life of a man after the death of the body as shown by the manifestations of nature. As I was saying, the apparent death and resuscitation of things of the vegetable kingdom do not furnish any argument that man will continue to live after the death of the physical body. Now I know it is difficult to understand what there can be in the manifestations of nature to prove such persistent life, and that the people for whose benefit I am writing this will not be willing to use evidence of things of a spiritual nature to prove this continuous life, and hence I will confine myself to matters material. Well, in the first place, there is no such thing as death of anything. In all the material universe of God, every primal element has life in it, even though that life may not be apparent to the consciousness of men. But it is a fact. Every atom or electron, as the scientists term these particles of matter that are reduced to their infinitesimal portions, is pregnant with life, and the very apparent decay of material substances is nothing more nor less than the results of the operation of the life that they contain, working out the changes of form or expression. If the scientists will investigate and analyze the constituents of particles of all matter, notwithstanding that they appear to be devoid of the life principle, he will find that life in some of its expressions is contained in these particles, and that there is nothing in the material things of nature that is completely inert. There is no such thing as inertia, it only appears to exist, and while it may not be apparent to the natural eye that everything in the material has life within itself, and as a result therefrom there is force and motion, yet such is the fact. This life principle permeates everything, applies to and forms a part of everything that has the appearance of natural existence. The grain of sand on the seashore or the dust of the decayed tree has within it life. And this life is no more non-existent or absent from these material things than are the elements that compose this visible form of matter, ever lost or without existence. It is true that these elements change their forms and their compositions, yet they never cease to exist or become nothing. Nothing means a void, and in God's creation there is no void. Everything is of substance, and there are no vacancies unfulfilled. And hence, as life is the foundation principle of existence, and life exists everywhere, and there being no void in nature, life permeates everything, whether visible to the mortal eye or senses or not. When that which is material decays or disintegrates, it does not do so as the result of the absence of life, but as the result of the operation of this principle of life upon the material in such a way as to cause the separation of its elements, and their change into new forms and appearances. I know it is said that the workings of the elements, that is fire and water and air and chemicals, known and unknown, cause the disintegration or even the disappearance of things material, but this is not strictly true, for these elements do not affect these things themselves as a primary result of their workings, but what they affect is the life within these materials, and as that life lessens or changes the materials of which that life is a part, disintegrate or dissolve, as is sometimes said, into thin air, and never does any part of this material substance, no matter how minute it may come to be, die. That is the sense of losing life. Life is a thing of such delicate nature and is so susceptible to a division or reduction to a smallness almost to affinity that no substance can oh my God. No substance can become so small that life is not a part of it and the vital principle of its existence. As is known, the solid rock may be reduced not only to dust, but to a liquid, and then to a vapor, and then to a gas, and then to that it is not sensitive to the consciousness of men, and yet the life principle exists in all of these forms of that material rock, and that which ultimates into apparent nothingness contains life just as does the original rock or any of its subsequent forms in the process of reduction to seeming extinction. Again, these are the Paget messages, Part 3, Life After Death, channeled 100 years ago by James Paget, Jesus and His Disciples, available on Amazon and free PDFs at divinelove.org.